Sumo.
Hi everyone, I'm Paul Hans from the Startup Foundry. Today on this AppSumo actionable video, we have Tom Critchlow here. He actually runs Distilled's New York office, and he's here to teach us about link building. So Tom, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi. So I just opened the New York office for Distilled. We've been going about a week now, so it's pretty new. But it's, Distilled's been around for about 6 years. We do SEO for all kinds of companies. We do hands-on SEO, we do SEO consulting. We've trained teams, we've hired teams, done all that kind of stuff. But we also, we speak at conferences, we blog all over the place, like SEO Mars, those kind of places. Throughout all of that time, we have done a lot of work with startups, there's a bunch of guys at Distilled that are really passionate about startups. We love talking about startups. We love watching new startups come about. So this video, I thought we could talk a little bit about link building for startups in particular, some of the challenges they face, some of the things that they can do differently, some of their strengths, some of their weaknesses, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and you guys have seen like just the whole spectrum of companies from really small to really big.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, when we first started out at Distilled, we were working with local hairdressers and local restaurants, and we scaled all the way up to Fortune 500 companies, companies with 20 SEO employees, all kinds of things. So yeah, we've kind of been around the block a little bit.
Right. What I'm really looking forward to this video is, I think no matter where you're at with your company, you're going to be able to take it to the next level with this. So, Tom, why don't we get started? What is SEO?
Yeah, sure. This is a really good question, and we should really talk about SEO before we talk about link building. SEO is the principle of moving up in the search engines. So when you do a good Google search for something, you want to appear highly, right? And we all know how popular Google is. So there's obviously a lot of traffic that can be gained through SEO, and so a lot of people kind of treat SEO as some kind of black box, or worse, a lot of people treat SEO as spam. But really what we're trying to do with SEO is we're trying to make sure that your site can be found by Google, but we're also trying to basically just do online marketing, right? Like these days, more and more, Google is trying to rank websites highly that have a good brand online, right? So the aims of SEO and more generally the aims of online marketing start to converge. And we look at things like, how do you become a brand online? One of the best ways you can get a brand online is being cited by other strong websites, right? Like this is kind of, it's nothing new. If the New York Times or the BBC links to your website, Google can see that and they can understand that means that your website is more trusted. It means that you've got a higher chance of ranking higher in search engines. So that's kind of the underlying principle of SEO. There's a bunch of kind of more technical on-page factors about using keywords and making sure your site is crawlable, that kind of stuff. We're not going to talk too much about that today, but instead what we're going to talk about is really how can you do link building? So how can you go about getting links to your site? Because it's kind of the number one problem when we say to people you need to go do link building, you just kind of get a blank face, right? Like people don't really understand what you're talking about. So that's why links are important for SEO.
Okay, so building that trust, ranking higher in search engines, is that the main reasons?
Absolutely, yeah. But also, I think that the old days of SEO where you can build thousands of links that a human would never click on. That doesn't really work anymore. So instead, when we talk about SEO, we're talking about getting links from strong websites, and actually, you should try and make sure that you're going to get some decent traffic out of these in business as well. Just building links purely for SEO is not always necessarily the right answer. So really, what we're trying to do is the best link building ideas are those that are actually going to bring you business value as well.
Okay, so by following this video and this guide, people are actually going to increase the value of their company, their brand.
Absolutely.
Online.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Now, is this a quality or a quantity game?
it's absolutely a quality game. It's you know, I mentioned getting a link from the New York Times or the BBC. That's going to be worth so much more to you than getting a link from some site that no one's ever heard of, or from a page on a website that's buried way deep inside their structure and no one's ever going to see. Again, I think that you know, obviously quantity is nice if you can reach a minimum quality threshold. But when you're thinking about building links, think about the strongest links you can get and go after them. You know, that's a much better way of doing it than just kind of you know, trying to get a raw number of links. It's all about quality, and this comes back to some of the kind of tactics that people use to build links that really don't work. You know, you look at like blog comment spam. You know, you run a blog, we run a blog. You'll be pretty familiar with all the kind of comments you get where it's like, oh hi, I really like this blog post from my Viagra. You know, those kinds of links from blog comments or from really low quality sections on pages. They're not going to count very much. So trying to manipulate links like that is really, you should try and avoid it, right? Like there are some of the black hats out there who still find a way to make that kind of thing work, but it's not a good long-term strategy. And you know, particularly if you look at a startup, like you're really trying to build long-term value. You're not trying to go for the quick hit. You're not trying to just get like short-term revenue. You know, if you get your website penalized by Google, that can be terrible for your business, and not only for your business, but you know, if you think about trying to get funding for your company, you know, looking at the risk of your link portfolio is going to be something that people are going to start to do. You know, you can see the smart investors are already starting to understand. You know, if we buy this company, does it come with any inherent risk tied into it? And you know, we've seen some very high-profile kind of link outings from people like JCPenney. You know, so SEO is starting to get a slightly more mainstream kind of press coverage. People are starting to care about it a little bit more, and so, you know, given all that in mind, and given things like you know, Google recently made a change to their algorithm called the Panda update, which really hit kind of content farms and low quality websites. Hit them really hard.
eHow stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think eHow actually did okay out of the Panda update, but
Yeah.
many of the other low quality sites like Easy Articles and stuff like that, they got hit pretty hard. So it's not simply a case of, you know, kind of auto generating a page of content, throwing some low quality links in it, and seeing it rank in Google. Like, those days are over, basically.
Okay, so in this video, we're going to focus on getting those high quality links that will help you rank.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's say I'm a startup just getting started. When should I start thinking about SEO?
So I think it's important for any startup to start thinking about SEO right from the start. Like, you know, when you're building your website, when you're building your platform, you're building your community, whatever it might be, I think it's really important to think about SEO right from the start. And that doesn't necessarily mean you need to spend a huge amount of time doing SEO. You know, there's a difference between kind of you know, kind of building SEO into the product and actively going out there and spending hours of your day doing SEO. But it's important to understand the principles of SEO, which is you need to make sure that somehow you're going to get found online and that people are going to link to you. And building that into your business model, so building that kind of online marketing, you know, building the idea of whether it's content, whether it's services that people are going to want to link to, they're going to want to find online. Like, that's really important. Like, so for example, I think a good example of a startup that doesn't do SEO particularly well is Instagram, right? Like, you go to Instagram and their website is basically just a platform for downloading the iPhone app. Right, and I'm obviously not trying to say that Instagram aren't successful. Instagram are taking off right now, right? But they haven't really thought about SEO at all. They haven't really got any kind of web content that you can interact with. You know, obviously you can share your photos and so on, but there's no other content above and beyond that. And I think that's a situation where if you know, it would have been quite easy for them back at the start when they were starting out to think about how can we actually leverage this online to make sure that we get more exposure, not only on search engines, but also in social media and that kind of thing, to really drive traffic. You know, it's they're very much focused on the the mobile experience and kind of forgetting the kind of broader online marketing experience. So that's an example of where I think, it's easier to think about it right at the start.
Okay. So even if you're not necessarily taking really big steps in implementing it, just keeping it part of your content strategy.
Absolutely, yeah, and content is key to link building and SEO. Building out content that people are going to want to engage with. I mean, that's basically all there is to SEO. If you do it well, if you build good content and you build it out in a way that people want to find it and want to know about it, you're going to end up building links. You're going to end up building a community. You're going to end up building kind of attention online, and that's exactly how you can build your brand. Exactly how you can win at SEO.
Okay. Now, there are firms whose job is just to focus on SEO. They can spend thousands and thousands of dollars on it. And how can a startup get that same kind of quality, like SEO building, link building strategies? Like if they're really just bootstraps, barely scraping by, like is there any way that they can do that?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the things that I love about working in the SEO industry is that everyone is really friendly, right? Like the community right now is awesome. Like there's so many SEO consultants, people working in-house, people working at agencies, people working freelance. We're all sharing knowledge, we're all blogging, we're all very visible on Twitter. And I think that one of the things I love about working in this industry is that you could just go up to somebody and just be friends with them, right? And engage with them, ask for advice. If there's a bootstrap startup out there and you're looking for some free SEO advice, just ask, right? Like just reach out to somebody and be like, hey, we're such and such a startup. Would love it if you could just spend like 2 minutes of your time to give us some feedback on this, or give us maybe. A login to your new website and just be like, can you spend 2 minutes looking at this, or would love it if you could do this, and in return, maybe give away like a free a free account to your startup, or do something nice in return. Like it's there are lots of SEO people out there who are really nice guys, willing to help. And if you're just looking for a small amount of time, go for it, I see this on Hacker News. People have asked for advice. People have asked for advice on Quora. People have asked for advice on Twitter. People email me every now and again. You don't have to necessarily go down the route of spending thousands of dollars to get some kind of massive strategy. If all you're looking for is a little bit of advice, or even just like, can you point me in the direction of a few articles that might help me, right? That can be really valuable sometimes. It's just understand, where can I go to find out more information about this? If you're not familiar with SEO, you don't know all of the terms, you don't know all of the ins and outs, and you don't know what to trust. There's a lot of poor SEO information out there as well. So maybe just shoot an email or shoot a tweet to somebody and be like, hey, can you point me in the right direction where I can learn about link building, or learn about video SEO, or whatever it is you're looking for? People will be willing to help.
Okay, so is there a way of reaching out to people that do SEO that would say, hey, like I'm taking this seriously, like I actually want to get better, I'm not going to waste your time? Like, what's the best way to ask for help? I know you mentioned you could do a tweet or an email, but what specifically could someone ask? Like, how could someone ask to do that?
You mean if somebody wants to start like buying SEO, or
well, if they want some free advice, like how do you make that initial connection? How do you reach out?
I mean, exactly the same way as you make a connection any other way, right? Like, maybe leave a comment on their blog, tweet at them, send them an email. Like, in this day and age, it's not hard to find out like somebody's email address or somebody's Twitter handle. If you do a search for my name, like there are a million and one ways to get in touch with me. You can send me an email about me if you want. You can send me an email on my email address. You can tweet me. You can LinkedIn me. There's a gazillion ways. It doesn't really matter how you reach out. I think what's much more important is reaching out in a nice way. Like don't take anything for granted. Don't be a jerk about it. Don't be like don't send me like a 15-page document and kind of ask me to read the whole thing. But if you're nice, like just ask for some advice. If you've got anything to offer in return, that's great. I'm not talking about kind of money or bribing me or anything. It's just like just be nice to me. It's the same way of kind of making friends on the internet any other way. It's when I was learning to code, I went on to Stack Overflow, and just started some questions, and in my questions I'd say up front, I'd be like, hey, I'm completely new to this, would love any help you guys can offer me. And people were really friendly. They sent me back articles to read. They said they fixed pieces of code for me. It's exactly the same kind of setup in SEO. If you're kind of humble, if you're not too arrogant, and you're not a douche, people will be nice to you. So that's the best way of going about getting free advice.
Okay. And then would you say it's important to have a clear ask as well? I mean, like you said, yeah, don't send me a 15-page document, but like if you have something clear and concise, would that have a better chance of being responded to?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, always be considerate of people's time. I'm a huge fan of kind of inbox zero and email management, and it's much easier to respond to an email if there's a clear question in there. If it's a kind of a rambling paragraph of text, it's hard to kind of decipher what do you actually mean, what are they actually looking for here. If you just go straight out and be like, hey, I got this. Would love it if you could spend 2 minutes just telling me what you think, or give me some feedback on X or whatever. Like, yeah, that's going to be a lot easier for somebody who's busy. So just take a look at it, drop you a quick response back, and you're good to go.
Great. Okay, now let's talk about some things that we should avoid when we're doing link building. There's different things, like you can have paid links, and all these things that could potentially penalize you, and they aren't great like long-term strategies. Like what should we be avoiding here when we're working on link building?
Absolutely. So there's all kinds of things that you should avoid, and I don't have time on this video to go over every single one of them. But what I will do is say that try and avoid anything that's too good to be true. Like if anytime you're building links that users are never going to click on, that's a kind of a warning sign for me, right? Like, and that will be a warning sign for Google. Google is starting to get pretty intelligent about how they kind of attribute links online, the kind of sites that will pass you a link that helps and pass you a link that doesn't help. And so I think I would always recommend kind of following the rule of thumb of building links that users want and that users will click on. Because of that, you really want to avoid links, for example, reciprocal links. So reciprocal links used to be huge back in, I don't know, 2002 or whatever, where I would have a list of links on my page, and I would link out to anyone who linked to me on their list of links. And you end up with these pages that have thousands and thousands of links on, just passing links back and forth. And obviously Google got pretty good at kind of spotting that and stopping that kind of thing working. But it plays into that model of don't do anything like that. That's clearly designed to manipulate the search engines, and that's really the message that Google says as well. Is anytime you're trying to manipulate the search engines, it's a bad idea. But approaching SEO from the idea of you're basically just trying to do good online marketing, right? Like you're just trying to get your brand out there. You're going to get your name out there. You're going to get links to your website. That's a good way of going about doing SEO. In particular, I would avoid paid links. Paid links is something that Google is on a bit of a mission to crack down on, and is very explicitly against their terms of service. So if I pay if you've got the Startup Foundry and I say I'll pay you $10 to link to Distilled, and you put a link up, like Google can come down hard on both the Startup Foundry and on Distilled, and that's not something you want to do. So kind of straight up paying cash for links directly like that is a bad idea. That said, there are plenty of ways that you can spend cash to get links, but you just need to do it in a slightly more intelligent manner, right? So, for example, you could organize a local meetup in your local area, put a tab behind the bar. That's you're not paying for links for anybody, but you're going to end up with a whole bunch of people that are going to like you. They're going to blog about you. They might talk about you. They might be more conducive to posting a blog post that you put up. In the future. It's kind of which I think makes an important point about building relationships is almost more important than building links. It's so much of link building is about building relationships with people.
Okay, so how is that different, say, buying, opening up a bar tab versus explicitly paying someone for links?
Well, so it's not, in essence, right? I mean, there is very much a grey area here, and I think Google tries to make it clear that what they're trying to avoid is kind of manipulative behavior, and are trying to crack down on anyone is buying links purely for SEO value.
Okay.
But the way the world works, money makes the world go round, and whether you're taking a journalist out for dinner, whether you're putting a bar tab behind the bar, whether you're sponsoring an event, ultimately money is how things work in the world, right?
Sure.
And Google can't, Google's not going to change that. So really what you should focus on is just making sure that if you're paying money with the end goal of getting links, you still want to have some kind of editorial review in there, right? Like you still want some situation where even if I paid you lots and lots of money, you wouldn't link to me because it's not relevant, it's not interesting to your users. It's like, for example, we run SEO conferences, but pretty much no matter how much somebody paid us, we wouldn't let some kind of pharmaceutical company sponsor that event, right? Like it wouldn't make sense for us. It wouldn't make sense for the people that come to the conference. And it's kind of a similar deal online, right? You still want to keep that editorial control over who's linking to who. And as long as that editorial control is in place, then behind the scenes, money can exchange hands in all kinds of ways. But directly purchasing links is something that I would avoid, basically.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else we need to know about avoiding different strategies for link building?
Those are the kind of big ones for me. I think, like I mentioned before, is try and avoid anything that's too good to be true. You see any of those packages on eBay where it's like $99 for 2,000 links. Don't go down that route.
Okay. Now let's talk about link building for startups.
Sure.
Have you seen LaunchRock and some of these viral landing pages?
Yeah, I'm quite a big fan of LaunchRock, actually.
Okay, here, why don't we pull up an example here. So, for those of you that haven't seen LaunchRock before, they allow you to quickly build a landing page that, they'll let you collect email addresses and hopefully get a start here before you actually have a product to launch.
Yeah.
And so this has been all the rage in startup circles here for a couple months now. And how is this beneficial? Is this beneficial for SEO purposes?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think, one of the principles of link building is that, obviously you want to get quality links, but quantity is never a bad thing, when you have quality links. So you want to start link building as early as possible, right? Like if you're in some kind of stealth mode, no one knows who you are, and then you launch, like that launch date is the date that you're going to start building links. But if you can get up some kind of landing page, like even a LaunchRock page like this, you can start building links even before your product is ready, even before people really know who you are. So having a coming soon page can really help you start to build links, start to build social mentions, even before you launch your product, which can be a really great thing. And so one of the reasons that LaunchRock is really successful is it allows you to create a coming soon page that actually looks really nice. And then there's a key element here, which is that well-designed pages, they really help you get more links than ugly pages, right? Like people like to link to things like LaunchRock pages because they look great. There was a perfect example of this. So Ben the Bodyguard Ben the Bodyguard is some kind of security startup. And way before they launched, they had this long scrolling page. So it's beautifully rendered in CSS with this little guy who walks down the screen. There's all these little messages that come along. It looks amazing, right? And this got linked to like crazy. Like seriously, everyone was thinking this. It was on the homepage of Hacker News. It was all over the place. But the reason that this was so popular is because it looks beautiful, right? Like that's why it's popular. And you can use that when you're kind of thinking about launching your startup early or kind of trying to build links before you've launched. Leverage that. A lot of startups have great designers. And design is kind of one of those things that startups can do very well. So leverage that to get links. That can be really useful for you.
Okay, so leveraging that creativity can actually translate to more links coming in to higher SEO rank.
Absolutely, yeah. And so there's another great example here. So infographics is another example of how that kind of creativity and design can be used to build links. This is kind of a fairly arbitrary example I pulled here from Hipmunk, just because I love Hipmunk so much. They're obviously kind of a startup in a pretty disruptive space, and some of the stuff they've done these infographics, right, where they've visualized some kind of data about baggage fees. And because Hipmunk has great design at heart, this kind of thing is quite successful for me.
Okay, so your goal with marketing here for a startup is to have stuff that people just want to link to, like it's good content.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when we think about launching content like this, the best way to go about thinking about this kind of content is to, before you even start thinking about the creative idea, before you think about something that will be cool, think about who's going to link to it. Right, so think about who your target market might be, and really tailor it to them. So if you're in the travel space, think about, are you going to travel, industry. Sorry, if you're in the travel space, think about, are you going to target industry travel sites, or are you going to target travel bloggers? Are you going to target travel resource sites? There's all kinds of different niches that you can go after, and really you should try and nail down exactly who you're going to get. Who you're going to try and get to link to you before you even start thinking about the idea. And if you can basically nail down like one or two sites that would be perfect if they link to this content, that really helps you define the kind of content you create. We see this quite often where people create something creative. It looks nice, it's interesting, but it kind of falls between the cracks. It's somewhat interesting to travel bloggers, it's somewhat interesting to the travel industry, but doesn't quite necessarily nail one or the other. And so they end up not getting a huge number of links, even though the design might be nice, the concept might be nice. When you're thinking about doing something creative, really try and nail down like who is going to be interested in this.
Okay, so you're almost working backwards. You have the end goal
Absolutely.
in mind, and then you build something specifically for that niche.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, now we've talked about infographics. We talked about some landing pages. What are some other resources we can use?
Sure. So tools is a great way of building links. So for example, Color Lovers is a Y Combinator backed startup, and obviously they're in a fairly linkable space. There are, a lot of their content is well designed, it's very social, it looks really nice. But you look at their tools section. They have a whole bunch of kind of online color tools, and actually one of the most linked to tools is this Twitter background creator. Right, they have a big kind of dynamic tool here where you can choose the background, you can choose the layout, and you can actually pick your Twitter background and profile, make it look nice. And if we look at the number of links it has, if we look at colorlovers.com, so this here is a tool called Open Site Explorer, which is a tool from SEO Moz, which allows you to look at who links to various sites on the internet. SEO Moz have their own crawl of the web, and use this to kind of construct a kind of a link index that can show you who's linking to a particular website, but also what the top linked pages are on a website. So if we look at Color Lovers and look at the top linked pages on their website, you can see that the number 4 most linked page on their website is this Twitter profile designer, and it has almost 250 different sites linking to it, which is a huge number of links, right? That's a great tool. So they've obviously invested the time to build this, and it's paying off. They have a whole bunch of links pointing to it. This is great branding for them. It's a great social tool for them, and this is exactly the kind of thing that startups can do really well, right? They have agile development teams, they have good design, they can play in the social space. So creating tools is a really great way of building links for startups, and it's kind of, you don't necessarily have to pump these out every week. This Twitter profile designer has probably been around for ages, right? And has been getting links just steadily over time.
Sure.
So startups can use the kind of existing skills they already have to turn that into links.
Okay. Yeah, I actually did something similar with the Startup Foundry. I built a friend and I built the startup Death Clock, and so like it was just this. If you scroll down there, down a little bit more, and then you just passed. It's yellow. So, yeah, right there you go.
I see it. Huh.
So this was just a basic tool that we built, and I mean it took maybe like 2 hours or something ridiculously small like that, and just being able to let people interact with this, and like it's silly, and like there's not a whole lot of logic there, but we got this into the hands of people that we wouldn't have been able to reach otherwise. And
Absolutely.
And just by building these simple little tools, and sometimes they're fun, sometimes they're a little more serious, but just by building these things, like we've seen a huge increase in traffic.
Absolutely, yeah, and so this comes back to my point, which is, the idea here is you're not just building links for SEO, right? Like you're not just going after SEO when you do this kind of thing, but these kind of tools are great for SEO. They get links to your website. They also give your brand exposure. They bring you a whole bunch of traffic. They get a whole bunch of signal stuff. It's really good for the brand to do this kind of thing.
Sure. Okay, so another thing that we were talking about is using videos.
Sure.
Can you explain how using videos is good for SEO purposes?
Absolutely. So videos are great for SEO for a bunch of different reasons. One of the reasons that videos are great is because people love linking to videos. So actually, video content is highly linkable and highly shareable, and particularly people are more prone to actually link to a video, whereas they might just reference some kind of blog post by writing about it in text. But because it's harder to just kind of summarize the video in text, people obviously either embed the video or link directly to the video. And this can be great for you. So producing videos is good for SEO because they're good for link building. But also they're good because you can end up with videos appearing in the search results. So this is an example from SEO Moz. You do a query for Learn SEO, and you can see here how SEO Moz have a video ranking. They have this little image here, that thumbnail, and that means the click-through rate is going to go crazy on this URL, even though it's not the #1 result. And if you click through, you can see that they just have a video on this page, which they have here. And the idea here is that you want to put videos on your site. It's good to create a video sitemap. If you just Google for a video sitemap, you can find out all about how to do it, and you can end up with those kind of thumbnails appearing in the search results, which is really great. But not only that, if you have a look at the SEO Moz blog, they actually put out a video every Friday called the Whiteboard Friday, and it's so if we have a look down here. The Whiteboard Fridays, they actually host these using Wistia. And Wistia will actually auto-generate a video sitemap for you, which can be really useful. But you also see that you're able to embed the videos, and this can be a great way of getting links. Is getting people to embed your content.
Okay.
So you can see here that you can just grab that embed code and put that video on your own site, and that kind of thing can be great for building links. Not only that, but obviously videos are great for just getting online marketing generally, because you can not only put the video on your own site, you can put it on YouTube, you can put it on Vimeo, and getting the video out there, it can get it thousands of views, it can get it in front of an audience you might not normally reach. So the videos can be really powerful for you.
Okay, now one question I have about that. So let's say I create a video and you link to, or you actually embed it in your site. Will that hurt my ranking? Like back to the page, like let's say I upload it to Wistia or to YouTube or something like that, and then embed it in my site first. Will that have any influence on it?
No, you don't need to worry about that too much. The only thing I would say is try and make sure that your site is the kind of canonical version for the video. So try and make sure that that's the kind of the authoritative place where the video lives online. Sometimes you see that people launch their viral videos and they launch them on YouTube, which can get you a whole bunch of views on YouTube, but can sometimes hurt you in terms of, that's where people end up linking to, that's where all the traffic goes, and you kind of get secondary brand exposure, but you don't quite get quite as much direct brand exposure. So if you're going to launch a video, try and launch it on your site and launching it somewhere else.
Okay. All right. Now, is that everything that we need to know about videos?
I think so for now. Yeah, I mean it's obviously it's different for every kind of individual, but I think that videos are pretty hot right now. It's very low cost to create. We're doing video right now. You've done some video interviews with some pretty famous people. It can work really well for getting links to your site. So just try it out. If it works for you, if you've got some good ideas, go for it. It's another content type to throw into your content.
Great. Okay. Now, what are some other ways that we can build some healthy link building strategies here?
Sure. So I want to talk for a sec about resource content. People sometimes think that SEO is moving these days into viral videos and infographics and all this kind of creative activity, when really you forget that there are lots and lots of sites out there that will link to relatively boring content if it's useful. Right, so I'm using the example here from Bingo Card Creator, which is the startup from Patrick Casey McKenzie, who is Patio 11 on Hacker News.
Who everybody knows on Hacker News. If you've been on Hacker News, you've read his stuff.
Exactly, right, and he writes great content about SEO, about how he does it for himself, and I think it's a perfect case study, right? Like he has these bingo cards, but he spun up this content about all these different kind of free bingo cards that you can use, and he's just giving this away, right? Like it's content that's right here for you to just use, and this kind of resource content. It's really useful, so don't necessarily just think about the sexy content. Think about some really useful content. Think about some how-to blog posts or instructional videos or some code snippets that solve a problem that you haven't found solved elsewhere. Startups are famous for kind of solving problems. That's the best startups come out of the ideas where there's some kind of inherent frustration, and then the startup is trying to fix that problem, trying to provide a solution. So just going to take that methodology, apply it to some problems that you've seen, some gaps in the market, and create some content that addresses that. And that can be a great way of getting links. What I will say is that if you're going to produce this kind of resource content, you have to try and make sure that it gets found. So you either have to have a reasonably strong website already so that this content you're creating will rank in the search results, or sometimes you just have to do the legwork, right? You just have to reach out manually to the sites that would be interested in this content. Like I was talking about right at the start, be nice, right? Don't be a douche about it, but just be completely upfront and just be like, hey, I've created this content, it's free, we think it might be useful to you. Let us know if you want to add it to your resources section on your website, or if you want to link to it, or if you want to write a blog post about it. That can be really useful for getting links. Okay,
so you can't forget the actual hard work of it, the unsexy side of it, and
absolutely,
you can build a huge traffic following by willing to do the legwork.
Absolutely, yeah. So if you're not especially creative, some people struggle with the creative side of things. Just try and go down this route. Try and create stuff that's useful. Do something good for the internet, and you'll be rewarded with links.
Okay. Now, another strategy that we had talked about was doing guest posts. Is this actually useful? Like, will this help you build your link building strategy?
Absolutely, yes. So guest posting comes in all kinds of different flavors. It really depends what kind of niche you're in, what kind of sites you're trying to contact, what kind of relationships you have. But in essence, what you're doing is you're taking this idea of building a relationship. So like I talked about originally, you're trying to say, I'm trying to build relationships with bloggers or site owners or content producers. And I'm trying to make sure that they talk about me, right? They do something about my brand. They cover my startup. They cover my tools. And one of the ways that you can do that is you can basically offer to produce content for them, right? So content is key for SEO. We talked about that a lot. And so people like to have content created for them. So, for example, using the bingo card creator example, if somebody went to Patrick and said, "Hey, if I created, 100 more of these bingo card niches for free, would you link to me?" Right? And if it wasn't particularly spammy, if it was kind of somewhat related or on topic, Patrick might consider linking to you if you do something for him. He's gonna reward you in return. And guest posting is just an extension of that. So it can be really useful for you. So, for example, here's a guest blog that I wrote on startups is Dharmesh Shah's blog from HubSpot. It's a pretty popular blog. He writes about all kind of startup stuff, and I reached out to him and said, "Hey, would you mind if I wrote a guest blog about some of the startup culture that we have in Distilled? It's been some interesting things that we've noticed, some interesting things that we've worked on, and I put together this guest post for him, and I put a lot of effort in, right? I've created all this content, I've included some images, I've tried to make sure this content is directly related to the kind of audience that is on startups, and it went down really well. Dharmesh loved it. The audience on startups loved it, which is kind of the most important thing. But I end up with these links back to my website, right? It's completely transparent. I'm not trying to hide anything. I didn't pay Dharmesh for this. It was just based on the fact that I'm producing good content. Just in this instance, I'm producing the good content on startups rather than on the Distilled website. And so this kind of thing can be great. And it's not just SEO. I didn't do this just to get the link. This actually got our brand in front of a whole new audience. A whole bunch of kind of startup followers and the startup crowd now know who Distilled is a little bit more, right? If a few of these people who read this article are going to click through, they're going to find out about Distilled, they're going to, follow us on Twitter. It's good brand building exercise to do this. So this is kind of a great example of how you can go about doing guest posting. Now, it was easy for me in this instance because I know Dharmesh, right? So it's easy for me to reach out to him. But there are plenty of instances where you might not already have the relationships. So, for example, 7 Books is a website that I put together late last year. It's the Straplines playlist for bookworms. Allows you to create a kind of a book list and share it with people, very easily. It's kind of, obviously it's not on the scale of some of the startups you see around, but if I was going to turn this into a real startup, I'd want to go out and I want to get links to it. I want to start helping my SEO, but I also want to get the brand out there. And guest posting for something like 7 Books would be really easy, right? Because the book community online is really passionate. There are so many book bloggers out there. I just did a quick Google for top book blogs, and I found this list that somebody put together. And you see that you've got all these blogs about books, and what I'd probably do is I'd probably just go through them, find out which were, which blogs talked about other startups, which blogs talked about external services, which blogs were just talking about, maybe kind of what's going on in their corporate situation. A lot of these blogs are just kind of attached to publishing houses or whatever. And I go through and I find the ones that look interesting or that might be willing to talk about my startup. And I just reach out to them. I'd be like, hey, I've created this thing that's pretty cool. It's useful. Would love it if I could write a guest blog, for your audience. And that's a really easy way to get in front of a new community. Again, the key thing here is that you're trying to target people that are relevant. I'm trying to provide content here for people that want to consume that content. And this should be good for startups. Startups should have an easy time getting their startup out there because most startups are pretty, it's pretty useful to have them. Like there's some kind of niche that they're trying to disrupt. They're trying to do something better. They're trying to do something cheaper. They're trying to do something that no one else does. And so people should be quite willing to talk about them. And in the early days of the startup, before people really know about you, going out and getting guest blogs can be a great way of doing that.
Right. And the great thing about guest blogging is that it's mutually beneficial. Like it's great for the site owner because they constantly need new content, and it's great for the person that's writing it because then they also get some additional exposure as well.
Absolutely. And you know, I can see here that you're actually doing some guest posts on the Startup Foundry. You know, this is a guest post about LaunchRock by Will Lamb. You know, this is exactly the kind of thing we're talking about. You know, it's like good content benefits everyone.
Yeah. So that's I really like this strategy. Like I use this personally. I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now, what are some other ways that we can do this? Like, I know that you do some work with SEO Moz. Like, you have some partnerships there. How has that influenced your link building strategy?
So how is it linked? Well, I mean, you know, Distilled ends up working on SEO Moz regularly, which helps our SEO. I mean, it's actually far more influential in bringing us clients, getting our brand out there, that kind of thing. SEO is kind of a secondary consideration there. I mean, I think the good thing about partnering with SEO Moz is that we end up with relationships with a whole bunch of people that we might not otherwise have been able to meet. So, you know, Rand Fishkin, the CEO of SEO Moz, he knows so many people in the startup world and the SEO industry, that it's great to get introduction to people through Rand sometimes. You know, that can be really useful to have.
Okay.
I think that those partnerships, that's something that startups can replicate. You know, it's trying to do deals. It's basically like applying the guest posting model, but on a slightly more grander scale or on a slightly more corporate attitude. So for example, Songkick are a Y Combinator funded startup. And I actually wasn't aware until I went in and did some backlink analysis for Songkick that they actually have a link from a very, very strong page on YouTube. So if you go to youtube.com/music, you see that Songkick actually provides these events down here, and they actually get linked to right here,
Hmm.
right? And I mean, that's crazy. That's an immensely strong link from a really powerful website that Songkick have got by nailing that relationship. You know, they've you know, I'm sure it wasn't easy to speak to YouTube to you know, to kind of make sure that they were legitimate, that they could provide something useful. But they've clearly, you know, they clearly worked hard to make sure they've integrated nicely with YouTube, and it's paid off, right? It ends up getting a link, and in this kind of situation, you you may well not want to do that partnership for SEO. You know, you want to do that partnership for brand exposure, for traffic, and so on. But when you do that partnership, don't forget to get a link. You know, don't forget that events powered by Songkick element, because that's going to get you the really strong link, which is going to help your SEO. So it's kind of it's just one of those things where it's like, just keep it in mind, and this goes back to my point right at the start, which is, you know, it's never too soon to be thinking about SEO. You know, always have it in the back of your mind that getting this exposure, getting these links is going to be good for you.
Okay. And again, that's something that's mutually beneficial.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you're providing something of value to YouTube here, and again, so this is kind of you know, this link that they've got here is very much through a partnership, but actually this kind of embeddable content that helps both the people who produce the content and the site owner can be a great way of getting links. So for example, Scribed or Scribd, however you want to pronounce it, they are another one of the Y Combinator funded startups, and they do these kind of you know, presentation hosting or document hosting, and we use it to host a lot of our presentation PowerPoints that we do. And here's just an example blog post that I've written on Distilled. I've embedded a PowerPoint deck from a conference I've been to. And you end up with this link here that goes back to Scribe, right? Like that comes with the embeddable content, and I completely don't mind linking back to Scribe, because they're providing something of value. You know, they make it easy to host my PowerPoint, they make it easy to embed it, and Scribe in return get SEO value. You know, they get the value of that link pointing back to their website, and this is a great way of starting to think about doing link building in scale. So you know, startups are really fond of trying to scale activity, and embeddable content is a really great way of thinking about how can we move from, you know, one link here, one link there, to how can we get thousands of links to our content, and this kind of embeddable content is you know, one of the best ways of doing that.
Okay. And that's using now. How could a startup emulate that?
Well, so provide a service, right? It's so if we look at Zillow, for example, you know, they're pretty big these days, but they started out pretty small a few years ago. They have this mortgage rate tables widget where you can embed the mortgage rates on your website. Again, it comes back with a link back to Zillow. This kind of thing, like it doesn't necessarily have to be core to your business. This mortgage rate widget is not really core to the Zillow business. It's you don't really know about it until you go here. But this kind of thing can be good for link building.
And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier with tools.
Yes,
like providing
absolutely.
tools.
So this is kind of a cross between a tool and some embeddable content. But don't be afraid to kind of give away some of this content. It's very easy, for example, or it would be very easy for Scribe to think we don't want people to embed our content because we want everyone to view the content on Scribe. We think that's the best way of kind of owning the traffic. I can see where you're coming from, but it's much more useful to just kind of set that content free, but make sure that it comes with attribution. Make sure that people always know that it's where the original source of that content is, and that can make sure that you end up with that great inbound marketing. You end up with your brand spread all over the place. You end up with lots and lots of links, and it can be really, really good for you. So think about ways that you can take scalable content generation and think about ways that you can package that up in some kind of embeddable form, and then just kind of go out into your target market and go for it. Reach out to people, write some blog posts about it, provide something useful that people need. That's a great way of getting links.
Now, Tom, we hit some really great content here. We just got enough stuff to get started here. How do we take this to the next level? What are some additional resources we can check out?
Yeah, absolutely. So by far, I mean, I'm obviously biased. We have a partnership with SEO Moz, full disclosure. But the beginner's guide to SEO that SEO Moz have, it's this 10-part series. It looks great. Remember, design is good for getting links. But it will walk you through everything you need to know about SEO, really. Like it'll walk you through how the search engines work. It'll walk you through how you can do keyword research. But it'll also walk you through some of the link building stuff that you can do. So they have a chapter on link building. If I can remember what it is, which chapter it is. Sorry about this, the SEO site is really slow. So they have a chapter on link building, chapter 7. And again, it covers a lot of the things that we touched on here. But I urge you to just go read through that, think about ways that you can go about building links. There's a whole bunch of really good, kind of do's and don'ts included here. So that's a really good resource just for kind of content, so to learn a bit more about SEO, that beginner's guide. The next thing I'd recommend is, if you're going to start getting serious about SEO, is Open Site Explorer, this tool that I mentioned earlier. So this can be really good for investigating who links to your competitors. So if you plug in a domain name, it'll return back, what the best links are to that website, and you can go and see whether, not only the individual sites that link to them, but try and think about like the underlying reason why these sites have linked to them. So if you plug in your competitor here, think about what tactics are they using for link building? How are they doing their online marketing? And if you look at the top pages report on Open Site Explorer, like I mentioned earlier, this can be a great way of seeing what is the top content that they have on their site. So you can see, for example, very quickly here, that Color, the kind of much talked about startup right now, they have a page for the royal wedding. And you can see that got them a bunch of links, and so you can kind of reverse engineer what your competitors are doing by seeing what their best link to content is. So Open Site Explorer is a great tool, and if you want to start taking it to the next level, again, the SEO Moz SEO toolbar. It's free to download for Firefox and Chrome. I can turn it on right here. And this can show you some of this detail as you're browsing around the web, how many links point to the page you're on. You can analyze the page for some SEO Moz metrics, things like that. So that's kind of how you can take it to the next level. But again, don't be afraid to reach out to me or anyone else you see in SEO. People are really friendly. Feel free to tweet at me, send me an email, get in touch. People are really friendly. So that's the best thing. And then if you're willing to take it to the next level, if you want to start paying for SEO, obviously feel free to get in touch.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot, Tom.
Thanks, Paul.
the strategies that we outlined here are going to be great for helping you build your brand online. It'll help get the word of mouth going. We talked about some really interesting ways we can build tools to actually virally spread for us, and hopefully through that we'd start ranking higher in Google. So,
Absolutely.
Tom, thanks again for your time. This has been another AppSumo action video. Check back again next week for another free one.
Yeah, thank you very much, Paul.
All right, have a good one.